Future Media's OneAfrica TV talks to former Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Richard Kamwi, about his memories of Dr. Sam Nujoma. I am Salma Tapopi.
I want him to be known as the only commander-in-chief of the People's Liberation Army of Namibia plan. That I know of. And this is nothing but truth. And to say the first commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the Republic of Namibia. When did I come to know Dr. Sam Nujoma? I had the privilege of having my primary education in Botswana, where I lived with my grandmom. I owe my education actually to my grandmom, my late grandmom. They, in the late 60s, to be specific, 1966 there, when Botswana got her independence. That is when I came to, know of politics, and that there's politics in my country as well. And the politics in my country was rather different to that of Botswana. For my country, I came to know the famous talk of a guerrilla leader in the name of Sam Nujoma. And after that, I came home in the 70s, where I had my secondary education. Then obviously I got involved in the 70s, early 70s, mid-70s, to be specific, mid-70s, when there was a real wind of change in then Caprivi, just like the rest of Namibia. The young people, going abroad. And when apartheid showed its brutality, the ugliness of apartheid, when the Boers were really torturing our people, and so many crossed the country. And I was one of those who was part of the ringleaders. And I recall one vivid instance when we could have left the same day going abroad, but counseling reigned that evening when we were supposed to cross. My late younger brother, Commissar David Shylock, Kamwi, came to inform me that he was leaving that evening. Going where? To Zambia, to go and join SWAPO. Of course, we had by then joined the SWAPO. That was 74, 75. To cut this story short, it was resolved that I remain, right? And I pursued my studies. I went to South Africa. On my return, with the influence that I received from the ANC Youth League, in fact, I played a role. I had been a member of the SRC's, student member of the SRC's. And on my way back, I drove via Francistown and Botswana. And there I went to see SWAPO's chief representative at the time. It was the late Victor Nkandi. And this man was the first to baptize me, using me in terms of being an activist in that region, called then Eastern Caprivi. It had so many names. Others was Caprivi Zipfel. And I then started bringing materials, right, to then Caprivi, sharing this with students, and we came up with a SWAPO executive committee, which is now the regional committee. And it was that time that it was really fire. That as an activist, I ended up getting involved in subversive activities, so much that I came to be known by some SWAPO party leadership, including Sam Nujoma. And then there was this so-called administration for Caprivians. My own chief, the late Chief Joshua Moraliswani, was the chief minister for the administration for Caprivians. Now, with my involvement as an activist, I also became close to this, to my chief. So much that I started talking to him. And some of his own children were already members of PLAN. And then I subsequently received an assignment from Sam Nujoma that I should convince my chief to leave the then Turinhal Alliance to get out of the so-called administration for Caprivians. There were two chiefs there, Chief Mamili of the Bafwe, and mine was Chief Joshua Moraliswani of the Basubia. But he was the chief minister. And it became very clear that there were some challenges that my chief was experiencing with the defunct administration. That was a plus on my side. So I kept going meeting the chief representative for SWAPO in Botswana. I now became the focal person. And that led me, with that assignment, to invite the late Chief Moraliswani to go and meet the leadership of SWAPO in Francistown. And this was Chief Moraliswani, obviously, and his Ngambela, who is the prime minister in the modern world. And then plus his two ministers from the Basubia. These were Paddy Mwazi and Boniface Nyambelikando. Again, to cut this story short, it became regular meetings for us going there. So much that we were now invited to go and meet Sam Nujoma in Harare. And I was an automatic leader of that mission. So we went to meet him. This was in the early 80s. We met him in Harare, along with the team of Moraliswani, composed of Ngambela, the late Ngambela Robert, and Telamo Simvula of the Basubia, and these two former ministers of the then administration for Caprivians. So at that meeting, I met him for the first time. And I was the first one who was invited to meet him. And he interviewed me, obviously, to share, you know, the pleasure that, young as I was able, you know, to convince my chief to come and meet him. I found a very casual man as compared to what I heard about him, that he was a bearded, you know, leader, so fearful. No. When I came to meet him, first thing, you know, was that broad smile. And we sat there, I shared with him, he asked me what was going on in then Caprivi, and I shared with him. So the next thing was to invite the chief was invited and his team. And it was a real good meeting. His team was obviously, I remember Moses Kareb was there, and Amabulu, who was chief representative in Zimbabwe. And that meeting was really good. My chief was really educated by Sam Nujoma, telling him that, you know, the squabbles of chieftainship will be a thing of the past in an independent Namibia. And he meant it, that the Swapo-Part government will have a room for the House of Chiefs. It will recognize the traditional authorities, the traditional chiefs. And so they will not be active politicians, no, but they will be respected according to their cultures throughout the country and throughout time immemorial that we had chiefs. So his government will recognize that. And I'll talk about that after independence. And then the next time that I met him again was when, you know, when we came back, one of the issues that was raised by the late Chief Maraliswani as head of that delegation on his side was the question that Your Excellency, President, I hear that in Owambo, planned combatants are eliminating some puppets. Why are you not doing that in Caprivi? We also have some puppets in Caprivi. Why are they not being eliminated, but you are only concentrating in the north? I remember him laughing, you know, saying, no, Honorable Chief, it's not only plan, but that plan was working with the people in then Owambo land. It is the people themselves who are working together with the planned combatants who are operating. They also come in Caprivi. They do come there. Then Chief Maraliswani responded by saying, but well, I also have, it's not only those children who are with you there, I still have other children. It's why are we not working together the way you are doing it in Owambo land? So to cut the story short again, he responded to him by saying, well, I will send someone. Sending someone, that someone happened to be Comrade Richard Kabajani. And as you may know, Richard Kapelwa Kabajani was a Subia who came from Zambezi, today is Zambezi. And Chief Moraliswani was his chief. So it just took a week. And then again, I was invited. This mission, when I was invited, I was under directives that it should only be Chief Moraliswani and Gambela Simvula. He should not be accompanied by his ministers. That is Padimwazi and Boniface Nyambelikando. And I have done that. I came back, I gave these directives, I extended an invitation to Moraliswani. We crossed over to Francistown with a vehicle. By the way, let me mention something that I left here. With a vehicle that Comrade Sam Nujoma gave me money to buy a vehicle. And that was a Mazda B8. So we went to Francistown. In a chartered plane, we went to Harare for that crucial meeting. It was a security-related meeting. In that meeting, it was Richard Kapelwa Kabajani. At the time, he was serving as acting secretary for defense in PLA. And he was also accompanied by Modest Karweba again. And then there was Amahulu, the chief representative. And in that meeting, it was Kabajani addressing his own chief, whom he had not seen in many years. That meeting was to inform the chief. He was directing his chief, I'm telling you, that he must get out of that Turin-Halle alliance. Because unless he changes, if he does not, there will be bloodshed in Caprivi. The chief responded to his subject. I enjoyed it. And he said, well, he must be rest assured. He already informed Nujoma that he will get out of the Turin-Halle alliance. But there were some of the challenges. They were receiving some financial assistance, right? And he does not know how they are going to survive. And they responded him just there. That's Kabajani. That SWAPO will take care of you. Comrade Sam Nujoma should have told you. And I tell you, it became real. My chief, to cut the story short, he left Turin-Halle alliance together with his two men. And the next step is the support to the Basubia Traditional Authority. Every month end, my Baki, that Mazda BE8, I had to drive to Francistown. And I recall at the time, we now had another new SWAPO party representative in the name of Comrade Nangolo Ipumbu, ambassador, now is Ambassador Leonard Nangolo Ipumbu, who has become my brother. And this was based or following that encounter. So I would bring every month end a substantial amount of money to Chief Moraliswani and his tribal authority. And they also received a vehicle, right? That is all in the name of Nujoma. So he empowered Moraliswani to be fair he became an activist. The Basubia Tribal Authority became obviously the home to SWAPO. I was working there as a health inspector. But I became a real activist for SWAPO Party. And in schools, the learners, we mobilized. Our committee also mobilized. We only had 2 secondary schools, no, 3. We had Kizito, we had Kaprivi, senior secondary school, and then Smata and Sanjo. So we mobilized all this with the directives coming from Luanda. Unfortunately, in situations of this nature comes some challenges. And what were these challenges now? I was given another assignment. This assignment was for me to get someone from Zambia, where possible, a relative, because they had to train him to come and, do subversive activities. Again, cutting this story short, I managed to do that. We had the first bomb blast, blasting the only filling station in Katima Mlilo. And the then so-called cabinet where they were meeting were blown up. And in the end, I got arrested under AG9. That's where you see my hands. Yeah, it's out of those torture. I was somewhere else around 30. So I got arrested, got tortured. In the end, I managed to escape. At the torturing center in Kalimbeza. And I left my captivities there, those who, Captain Bata, it was Captain Bata and Lieutenant Olifir. I left them, I think, in the middle of the night, I left. But I was exhausted. But I managed to cross over to Botswana and joined my colleagues abroad. The colleagues I'm in reference to is SWAPO members. That was the second time that I came to meet Sam Nujoma on a one-on-one. First, I ended up in the hospital in UTH, University Training Hospital in Lusaka. But I met Sam Nujoma in Luanda. Trained, in Luanda, he interviewed me. Again, I'm telling you the reception I received from this man. It was so wonderful. I was weak. He made me to be who I am. One thing that comes outstanding for me, Sam Nujoma was an extraordinarily freedom fighter, a leader of note in the war. When I met him during that interview, he informed me, directed me, that I'll be going to Lubango. That was at the commanding headquarters. And at the commanding headquarters, I'll be met by Solomon Awala, who was Deputy Army Commander. And that I'll go to Tobias Anyeko when I will recover. That indeed happened. The third time that I met him was when he came to Hainyeko. I spent a full year in Hainyeko military training. He came there at a parade to command us to go and fight. When he spoke with vigor and determination. You understand? He was in uniform. You see a pistol here. Eh? This man, when he was there talking to us, he was telling us who are the Boers and that they will be defeated. You see this hand, this finger. I'm telling you. And you, as young soldiers, we were singing the revolutionary songs. And in no time, he's leading the song. You understand? Revolutionary song. Yeah, this is what I came to know him. Going along with his commanders to the front, giving the morals. He was there himself, not that they had just to come and report to him at the commanding headquarters. No, he went to the operational headquarters. This is Sam Nujoma. In an independent country, what, in a nutshell, did I experience from this man? First, the independence that Nujoma brought to us. Secondly, the abolition of apartheid. You can imagine, we did not have a university. We did not have proper education. It was Bantu education. He demolished that Bantu education. Right? What was the other outstanding? Education was his key. Health, agriculture, and leading by examples, inculcating the sphere of the youth going to school, making us understand the youth that education was the only key to equalizer. And generally, the development in the country. And then as he left there, the other thing that we need to is the policy of national reconciliation. This was some of those that he came to make the enemy, make him like him, that indeed he is their leader. And then he looked for, in his administration, imagine his first cabinet, the second cabinet, and the third. If you look at that team, were people who were educated. Meaning, already in exile, these were some of his priorities: education and education, agriculture. And to be truthful of you, I'm one of those, truth be told, who, benefited to his dreams of an independent Namibia and what it will mean. Obviously, he appointed me off a deputy minister, and later on his successor appointed me minister. On the background, in his retirement, he would still call us. You understand? Among other things, infrastructure. The railway between Tsumeb and Ondangwa today. That was the work of Nujoma in retirement. Education, let me get back to education. He led by, as I said, with examples. Himself decided to go and study, enrolled as a student at the University of Namibia, which he came up. University of Namibia is the product of Nujoma. NAST is the product of Nujoma. And for us in health, when I was there, I still received the calls. Where are we going to have a medical school, a school of medicine? Thank God, his successor, President Pohamba, took it from him. I'm telling you, some of us were not sleeping. Not because it was an iron rod, no, but because of these assignments. For how long are we going to depend on expatriates? For how long? This is Sam Nujoma. And his successor, Pohamba, would call me. When are we going to have our own School of Medicine? Minister. We are working on it, Your Excellency. In no time, that is one of those that I pride myself today, that I did not fail the founding president. I did not fail his successor, Pohamba. Together with then minister, the current president, he served as Minister of Education. And we had the groundbreaking sermon for the School of Medicine. So these are some of the few things that I can recall with him. Then agriculture. Where do I stand today? When you called me, I was coming from my farm. I'm no longer a minister. But when I left, because of the education, this I must say, I must speak about it. You know what? Yeah. One day, I received a call. He does not forget the people that he worked along with. I received a call. This time, I was saving, I was in the north doing my PhD. And he called me, I received a call. And this call apparently came through Ambassador Ipumbu, whom I worked along with. He asked him, where is that young man? And I received, just imagine, And I was directed to go to a tunda at his mother's home. I went there, and there was Sam Nujoma. And that's where I received an invitation that he would be inviting me to serve in his team. And I was invited at State House. I came there. I was informed about this, but never to tell anybody until such time that he will pronounce it. Yeah. The rest is history. But then he asked me, but what are you doing currently? And then I said, Your Excellency, I'm pursuing my PhD in malaria to become a malariologist. And I'm with the University of Natal. Now, with what Your Excellency is talking about, I don't know how I'm going to go about it. No! That is a plus. I'll make it a point that you complete your studies. And indeed, I completed my studies, he came up to support me by going through UNAM, engaging the University of Natal, so much that they had to transfer me to come, and my supervisors from the University of Natal had to come here to join their colleagues here at the University of Namibia. So in fact, the award of this certificate was by the University of Namibia through the founding president, following his advices. And so was agriculture. I pursued it. I had to do some studies following what I learned from my parents. Today, I'm one of the farmers. And I think together with so many Namibians who followed, we are farmers. So many are experts, thanks to the founding president, Sam Nujoma. So we celebrate, all we do now is to celebrate all what he has done. Finally, his Vision 2030. Again, when you go through that Vision 2030, you see the man with a vision that this country, come 2030, will be an industrialist country. We are now on an equal par with all African nations. He was indeed a true Pan-Africanist. Number one is the remote control type of leadership. President Nujoma educated us to be with the people out there in the rural areas, not here in the city. We must go out and see the challenges that the ordinary Namibian, my grandmother, my uneducated auntie, uneducated, so many of them. Go and see what is happening there. The health facilities. Do you know what is happening there? Do you know the distances that the expecting mothers have to walk from their village to the nearest clinic? That concept, already, I got it from Sam Nujoma. He wanted us, my minister, I first worked with Libertina, Dr. Libertina Matila, was that we must go out. And thank God, I worked with this vibrant woman, So we learn to go out to there, identify the challenges and address these challenges head on. Address this, be a leader, be in front. Teamwork. Where did I get this? From Sam Nujoma. Work collectively. Identify, within your team, who should be doing what. Delegation of power. You cannot be there, but you must work with the regional leadership. Then consultation with the traditional leaders to get to know what are their challenges on the ground. Not just to know them during the elections. No, Be there with them. I got this from Sam Nujoma. And what is it that you can do? You know? So it was easy when I was appointed as Minister for Health. His successor, President Pohamba, he also came to me. He called me. I had this close relationship with my two presidents. He too would call me, invite me, and one day he informed me about the filthiness of a hospital. And then he says to me, you know, when he gets there, when his auntie, a relative is not well, that is his hospital. Right? Yeah. And he gets there, it will be clean, spick and span, clean and tight, because the president is coming. Do you do the same when you are visiting your health facilities? I said, yes, Your Excellency. You must stop it. Stop it. Take this as your instructions. Go there unnoticed. Then I came up with a program, surprise, surprise. Early in the morning, I'm there. That came, you know, from Nujoma to Pohamba as a SWAPO party government. That, you know, those were some of, and then working with partners. You know, this man was a guerrilla leader, right? From guerrilla leader, he became a liked president. He became a statesman of note, international, on the African continent. We came to get into MOUs with those developed countries in Africa and abroad. Cuba was among those internationalists where we tapped human resource from, be it the doctors, the nurses, right from Nujoma into President Pohamba. So you can see the way it was flowing. It became so easy. We entered into memorandum of understanding with countries like Nigeria, countries like Kenya, countries like Ghana, countries like Zambia, Zimbabwe, among others, Malawi. You know, at the time that I left the ministry, Selma, you may wish to know that the challenging diseases, the major killer diseases, among others, malaria, TB, HIV, AIDS, we were already eliminating malaria in this country. We were already eliminating TB. I got in when we had XDR-TB, right? I take off my hat to these two presidents, Sam Nujoma. And the clinics, you know, we came to learn that out of agriculture, you become a renowned figure, so much that it earned him an award from Indira Gandhi. You remember that health center, Indira Gandhi? You know, it was out of, you know, his efforts on agriculture, amongst others. So that's where I picked it up. Those are some of the lessons that today, you know, I had inculcated to live to have something in agriculture, that you cannot treat a patient on an empty stomach. Where did I get that? From Sam Nujoma. And it rolled out to President Pohamba. We have done the same. The health. We came up with, just like any other country, we had challenges in this country. We had diseases such as cardiac-related diseases. We had challenges that we had to send our patients to Grootskir in South Africa. But it was not easy. It was expensive. Alternatively, we had to send them to Nairobi. Still, all the way to transport a recovering patient, rehabilitating this patient all the way from Nairobi, it became a nightmare. We had to recruit nurses from all these member states that I have just shared with you. And so were the doctors to help us fight HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria. Resources. America was not as it is today with Trump. We had Bush there. WHO, we worked together all through Nujoma. The policy of primary health care. And that was the strength of the World Health Organization, whom we worked with very closely. Technical support, we received it. Where did we get all this? It was about the leadership of Sam Nujoma and rolling out to his successor. No wonder, in the end, he too became a recipient of Mui Ibrahim. And I read that thing, by the way. Some of was in terms of good governance. I saw HIV/AIDS is one of those that were mentioned. How that's Pohamba, how he managed HIV/AIDS and TB and malaria. I recall at the time that we were living with HIV positive mothers, we were already at 97% on ARV, antiretroviral therapy. Behind you there, you will see there is a big photo. That child there was born from an HIV positive mother, Emma Tuahepa. That baby was born HIV negative. You see, all this thanks to the founding president. And all these tips we were doing, running all this at their mercy. We saved at their what? At their pleasure. But the advices, I can tell you, Selma, came from Sam Nujoma and to President Pohamba. And we simply responded and put into action. What else can we? Today, we now have our own cardiac unity. We trained. Did we respond to these calls that they were calling me, all of them? Yes, I did respond together with my team. We now have a state-of-the-art cardiac unity. Did we respond to the School of Medicine? Yes, we now have a school of medicine. Actually, the year that I left office, that was the first class, the medical school graduates. So today, you get into all the district hospitals in this country, even up to the health centers. There are medical schools. We even have expertise. We have cardiothoracic surgeons and Namibians. We have specialist Namibians trained by the Namibian government. And we established this government, Sam Nujoma. Man, then what about the nurses? Are we still recruiting nurses from Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria? The answer is no. What did we do? I remember, I would receive calls from President Pohamba. How far are you with the nursing schools? You told me you are opening. We opened 6 of them. You understand? Kate Manso, they had their own in the south. Here, we had one. In the north, Oshakati, Onanjokwe were training. Rundu were training. Ochuarongo were training. And we even opened one in Zambezi, in Katima Mulilo. All this I want to tell you is Sam Nujoma. These programs simply rolled over to President Pohamba. So we remain extremely grateful. His contribution, can I say this? The contribution of Sam Nujoma to the Namibian nation cannot be quantified by all means. Neither can it be qualified. It is just overwhelming, simply overwhelming. This man has done so much for this great country. We had challenges. Our senior citizens were not receiving the same, resources that are being received by the white counterparts, the senior citizens. It came from Sam Nujoma. It was equalized. When they started receiving 150, it was on the same overall. Today, they are receiving somewhere else at 2,000 2,000, I think 2,000 what, that our senior citizens are receiving. All this, we should say thank you to the founding president. That's why I'm saying his contribution cannot be quantified. No. You just look at Namibia is progressing well. There were no towns here, nothing. These vehicles that you see all over, electricity that you are seeing all over, it was not there. The schools that you are seeing today, the health centers. I recall the year, President Pohamba asked me to put down the clinics, the health facilities that we had written, that we built, we established during his term of office. There were 250 clinics, health centers. Needless to talk of, upgrading. So much was done. So, this is the man that we are today celebrating. Yes, at times, maybe when they sit alone, for those who were too close, the grandchildren, yes, they should cry. But overall, for some of us, men and women, the youth, we should remain extremely grateful for what this man has done. How many universities do we talk today in this country? We now have UNAM, we have NAST, we have IUM, we have Welwitschia. I saw another one now. So we may be talking now of 5. All this was Nuyoma's dream come true. You know, the youth are empowered. The women are empowered. Look, before his death, he cast a vote for president-elect. Comrade Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah. Those are his product, the women empowerment. You know, so many, where you speak back to education, whether it's in the judiciary. We now have Chief Justice, a Namibian, of the Supreme Court. Deputy Chief Justice, a Namibian. The bench, they are Namibians. The professors, Vice Chancellor, UNAM, is a Namibian. You know, what we remain grateful, extremely grateful to this icon is the foundation. Whether you speak of sports, Nujoma was there. He was a sports fanatic. You know, he was walking, exercising. You know, the fields he has done, I'm looking forward to Vision 2030. Because that is for me the barometer of whether his legacy, but already to be where we are. I have mentioned the schools. I have mentioned the health facilities. I have mentioned the hospitals. I have mentioned in agriculture. Today we speak of green what? Green hydrogen. If you look at all this, the background, it was Sam Nujoma. The environment, creating a conducive environment where black and white equal, on an equal footing. Your education should be the determining factor. It's no longer, as we speak, it's no longer that the sky is the limit. No! Comrade President Dr. Sam Nujoma opened it to all fellow Namibians that beyond the sky is the limit. We now have pilots. Am I right? Black pilots. When he landed in this country, who was the pilots? They were Ethiopians. Today, who are the pilots of President Nangola Mbumba? They are fellow Namibians. You know? If, as we understand from a president-elect a dream in terms of her manifesto, is that a Namibian should be revamped. I'm telling you, watch out, mark my words, the pilots will be Namibians. The whole crew, Namibians. Where do you go? The hospitality, the catering, you name it. The hotels, top hotels, Opa in Dongos. Is that not Sam Nujoma's foundation? Is that not Sam Nujoma's dreams? That we will be the masters of our own destiny. Are we not there? Do we still have those expatriates that I was telling you, that both President Nujoma would call me, call other ministers, when are we going to do away with these expatriates? That's President Pohamba. Are we still having them? The answer is no. All in terms of the intended objectives of why we had to go out and fight for freedom. Is freedom in place? Yes, freedom is in place. Is apartheid gone? It's gone. Apartheid is gone. Do we still have blankets, only blacks, whites only, blacks? No. Do we still have hospitals for blacks, hospitals for whites only? No. What about the teachers? You know, do we go to school black and white? The answer is yes. I think you go to SADC, we are there. We go to AU, we are there. In fact, I'll be going to AU tomorrow. Yes. I am one of the advisors for MELP program, Ministerial Executive Leadership Program. We did not have all the things. Today we are there, all over. At AU, at UN, they are there, Namibians are there. In WHO, in all sectors of what makes a government to tick, fellow Namibians are there. The road infrastructure, you name it, is in place. These were what made us to fight. What about the army? All the three. On the ground, the armed forces is on the ground, Air Force is in place, the Navy is in place. Who are in the top positions? CDF is a Namibian. Army commander is a Namibian. Admiral there, whatever they are called, they are Namibians. Fisheries, they are Namibians. I'm coming from a farm. I told you, I'm a commercial farmer. And I'm just saying, by the way, there are several fellow Namibians who are farmers in the commercial farmlands, which were formerly whites only. We are penetrating. Yes, truth be told, the bigger chunk of the land is still in the hands of the whites, who are in minority. Are we sleeping on it without doing anything? No. Even the red line that people are talking about, let me be honest with you, SWAPO had been seized on this from Sam Nujoma himself. He made a statement on this, on the red line. So it should not be seen that it is only yesterday. No. SWAPO party had been seized with this since the dawn of independence to this end. So overall, the development that you see in this country, where we are today, we owe it to the founding president, to the leader of the Namibian Revolution, to that only commander-in-chief of the People's Liberation Army of Namibia plan, His Excellency Dr. Sam Nujoma. May his soul rest in peace. But finally, I would like to use this minute to pause and extend my heartfelt condolences to Mekul Kovambo Nujoma and her children and the entire bereaved children, to SWAPO Party for the loss of this icon, and indeed to the nation at large. Sam Nujoma's administration, the first administration, truth be told, it was not only SWAPO Party stalwarts. I recall vividly Dr. Herrigal, the finance minister, was not a member of SWAPO. I recall the late Kozongwizi and many others he brought on board. The National Planning Commission was not a member of SWAPO Party. So clearly, to all fellow Namibians, I would like to extend my most sincere, heartfelt condolences. But let us be consoled by the fact that this man lived his life at 95, and yet he was still behind, making it a point that his dream should come true. May his soul rest in eternal peace.